Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. You are speaking to Tando, and today I'm going to be taking you through a Wesbank vehicle finance application. You can of course do it at any other of the big four banks. I'm just going to be taking you through this platform because this is the one that I am most familiar with. Let's say I'm going to be taking you through what a deposit is. I'm also going to be taking you through what a balloon payment is and what that means for the numbers. I will also be taking you through what the prime rate is, which is a good indication of the prime rate is usually a good indication of what interest rate that you can expect. So that's the prime rate. Currently it is 9.75%. What the prime lending rate is, it's usually the benchmark of where clients start being priced at, because the repo rate is the repurchase rate, and that is the rate that the banks borrow from the central bank at, and then they add a percentage. As you can see, they add 2.5 to get to the prime lending rate, benchmark rate at which private banks lend out to the public. You can get prime plus, you can get prime minus, or you can get prime flat, and then the repo is the rate at which the private sector, which are the banks, borrow rands from the South African Reserve Bank. So obviously you can see that prime is greater than repo, because to make money, banks have to lend at a rate that is higher than what they borrow at. So that 2.5 spread is how banks make money from us. And obviously more for your higher risk clients, because then they'll have prime plus, and a bit lower for their lower risk clients, because they'll have that prime minus. But it's rare that a bank will lend at a rate less than the repo to a client, because that means that they're losing money. Because if the bank borrows 100 Rand from the South African Reserve Bank and lends it to me at less than this, it means that the interest that they're paying the Reserve Bank is less than the interest that they're receiving from me, and it's a business, so it's never going to work out like that. Alright, if you haven't checked out any of my other videos, check them out. I've got a car insurance video out under the same playlist. I've got a home loan video under the same playlist. I've also got my credit card journey. I've got 2 videos there where I explain sort of how I came onto the credit landscape as a new graduate out in 2018, and the hurdles that I faced and how I got where I am today. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I just googled Wesbank. I get in. Let me close my property 24. Let me close my chest. Alright, so I'm on the Wesbank portal. Why is my laptop acting up? Okay, I don't know what happened there. Sorry. So I'm on the Wesbank portal. I need finance for a car. Yes. Who is selling the car? A dealership, a private seller, an auction house. As you can see, these are the 3 options that you may have that you can approach Wesbank to buy a car from. A dealership is you going to BMW, you going to Audi, you going to Hyundai, you going to Nissan. It's the regular type that we're used to. A private seller may be you buying a car from someone in your family, maybe you finding a car online on marketplace and getting to Wesbank and saying, look, I've found a seller, I'm a willing buyer, I found a willing seller, this is the agreement we want to enter, can you finance me? And I think that is one of the safest methods to approach a private seller sort of situation, because the bank will verify the documents, verify that the ownership, and add trust to the whole transaction. So that's a method I would really consider if I were to go the private route, if I found a car I really liked, rather than going just trusting, I guess, the person that the car belongs to them, and that once I hand over the money, they'll hand over the car and not go and report it as stolen or anything shady of the sort. And then of course an auction house. If you check out my earlier video, I have a video on the Nedbank MFC auction house and how much you should be looking to pay for cars over there with the added costs. So check out that video as well, so that you're up to date if this is the method that you would like to consider. So now we're just going to be calculating a repayment, right? So let me enter a price to get started. I'm going to enter 250,000. Let's see what you can actually buy. I'm going to go to Auto Trader and I'm going to look at what I can actually buy for 250k. Let's see. So max price 250k. Let's say more options. Let's say body type. Okay, let's leave that. Let's leave that as well. More options. Okay, let's say new. Let me go with new. Let me go with, that doesn't matter really. Let me go with the 2021 model, right? I just want to see what I can buy for that amount of money. So why didn't that work? 250k. Yeah, let's see. 250k 2021 new. Sort by, let's say, most recent ads. Right, so for 240k, yeah, let's look at a live example. For 240k, 239,100, I can get the Starlet, the Toyota Starlet. I don't know why they have the same picture showing throughout. Let's see if there isn't a better one. That's a Toyota Ayga. Okay, let's go with that one. Alright, so you've got the Toyota Ayga at 194,950. As you can see inside, it looks really nice. Let's do the photo grid. Really nice, small car, fuel efficient. You'll see that Uber and you know, the ride share companies really prefer this, especially after lockdown, because previously we had the Toyota Corolla, but now this is what you're mostly seeing, especially with Uber and a bit on Uber Go. It's nice, cloth interior, spacious at the back. I mean, I like it, especially for this price. So 194,950. Let's say now I want to go buy the Toyota Ayga. What is Wesbank going to be lending me for that? 194,950. Okay, so 194,950. Right, so I have no deposit, payment term of 72 months. That is literally 6 years, right? No balloon payment. Let's say I take my interest rate at prime. So we said prime is 9.75, remember? Yeah. So we said the current market rate is prime 9.75. Typically what you'll get is prime plus 1, prime plus 2, prime plus 3. It'll be higher for vehicle finance than a home loan, because just the nature of vehicle finance compared to a home loan, right? And also the term. That's also something I explained in a video, but I think that was on a TikTok rather than on YouTube. But I was explaining that a home loan is over 20 years, whereas with vehicle finance it's over 5 or 6 years. So the term is condensed, so you tend to, you know, price the risk a bit higher than, you know, your home loan, and you know, a vehicle is a depreciation asset, whereas land and buildings, as we know, isn't, which is why you tend to get you know, a better rate on your home loan, and people tend to prioritize their home loan when it comes to payments compared to the vehicles. So it's a bit of a safer asset, and people tend to, you know, like I said, prioritize, put that on top of their debits. And so the bank is like, okay, cool, maybe that's not as risky as, you know, a car. Right, so we're fetching the Toyota Ayga at 194,950. That's probably not the full price, right? Because most of these cars, you have to add on the service plan and all of those things, but they don't mention it here, which is fine. And they have their own, you know, calculator, but I want to take you to the Wesbank one because that's the one I'm most comfortable with. So if I get prime, which means that's a really good rate, right? Let's say I go into private banking and then I get prime -1, which is what, you know, a private banking often offers. I know that's what Investec offers. I know that's what Nedbank, well, Nedbank's is competitive, but you can often get around about prime -1 for your car. So that's worthwhile looking at if you want to get like a really good rate. Maybe if you are in the young professional space, maybe looking into that so that you can lock in like a really nice, you know, interest rate for your first vehicle. So I'm looking at paying 3,678. So I'm financing 194. Total interest over the 6 years is 63. Total cost of credit is 264. So your total cost of credit is basically the 194 plus the 63, right? Cool. Let's say I take it over 60 months. That's basically 5 years. You'll see that my installment went up, right? So my installment went up from 3.7. Ooh, that's quite a bit. To 4.2, that's about 600. But you'll see my interest amount went down, right? So previously, my interest amount was, let's see here, my interest amount was 63 over 6 years. Now my interest amount is 52 over 5 years, right? So I'm paying 11k less in interest, but that's because I'm paying it up a bit quicker. So that's something to be mindful of. That's how we're reading the room. Okay, let's stick to, the 5 years. And let's say I've got like some money saved up, right? Let's say I've got, because we're eating in 195k, let's say I've got 10%, which is about 19,495. Right, so I've got 19,500 rand that I'm putting down, right? Which means that instead of financing the 195,000, I only need to borrow from Wesbank 175,000, right? Interest is only going to be 47,000 relative to the 53. Total cost of credit, which is my amount to finance plus the interest amount, 228k. My estimated monthly payment is going to be 3,800 rand over the next 5 years. It looks doable, right? But let's say I'm looking at that 3.8 and I'm like, ish, that's still a lot. And I don't have any more money, to put down as a deposit. What else can I do besides, looking for a cheaper car? Okay, what I can do is, and what a lot of the sales associates will suggest to you is, okay, let's do a balloon payment, my guy. Okay, let's say I put in a 10% balloon payment, right? Let me calculate that. What did I do there? Let's see, calculate. So let's put the balloon at 10%. What a balloon payment does is it takes 10%, right, of my vehicle purchase price and it puts it to the end of my term. So I'm saying I'm going to be paying this over 5 years. So that is 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027. At the end of 2027, 19,495 rand plus interest on it becomes due as a lump sum. That's the amount that I need to pay to Wesbank, right? That's what the balloon payment means. And if we're reading this as is now, what we're basically saying, we've paid 10% as a deposit, we've paid 10%, or we're deferring 10% as the balloon payment. We're effectively saying we're only going to finance 80% of the vehicle over the next 5 years. So this 3,547 that we're going to be paying monthly only speaks to 80% of the vehicle, which is the 175,000 that we're seeing there, right? Or minus rather 19,000 from there. So we're not financing 100% of it. We've put down 10% at the beginning, and now we're saying let's defer another 10%. Okay, so I don't want to confuse things by removing the deposit amount, but often people who don't have a deposit tend to have a higher balloon payment. But I don't want to remove that so that we have that at the back of our minds. But what I am going to do is I'm going to increase the balloon payment, and then we're going to play around with the numbers. Let's just remember where we're at the beginning. At the beginning, we had 3.8 no balloon payment. Before the deposit, we had 4,212 as an installment over 5 years at prime, right? Let's say, and this is the minimum installment, right? Because let's say prime is the benchmark, like we said that's what we read on the Reserve Bank side. Prime is the benchmark. You are likely to get prime or more than prime. So let's think of it as the minimum. When you're doing your calculations and you're doing your math in terms of monthly, how much can you eat up and how much can you dedicate to a car? Never mind insurance, never mind petrol and all those cute things. But like, how much are you willing to put towards a car? Just the installment. I think prime is a good place to start. If you want to, give yourself somewhat of a gap, then maybe prime plus one, prime plus 2, so that you give yourself some leeway. Do you understand what I mean? So that when the interest rate does increase, you're not stifled, you're not stuck, you're not in trouble, right? So we went from 4.2, and we said we're gonna put in a deposit amount of 19.5. Let me just 19.5, which is 10%, right? Then we went to 3.8, right? So 4.2, 3.8, and then we're saying balloon payment of 10%. We're at 3.5 now. So we've literally gone down by 700 from the original, just by deposit amount of 10%, which is the 19,500, which is 10% off my 194,950, and deferring 10% of the total loan to, the end of my term, the end of my 5 years, and saying, okay, Tando today can't deal with it, but Tando 5 years from now, future Tando can handle that 19,495 that is going to become due, right? So when that 19,495 becomes due with interest, by the way, what happens is two things. One, you can pay that lump sum upfront, boom, settle it with Wesbank and just get it out of the way. Another thing you could do, which is what a lot of people do, is they'll trade in their car and they'll buy a new car and they'll add this 19,500 to the loan of the new car. So they'll refinance it. Do you understand? Other people will say, okay, package that up in another loan for 6 months or 12 months and let's do it. We don't know now what interest rate is going to be linked to that. So that's also something to be mindful of. But are you the type of person that's going to say, okay, future Tando will worry about that? Or are you the type of person that's like, oof, I don't know if I can swallow that up? Let me show you what people are actually doing out there. People are increasing this. We'll take it to like 20% now. Our installment went from 4.2, we're at 3.2, we've got a 10% deposit and a 20% balloon. What we're basically saying is we're paying 3,300 effectively monthly for the next 60 months, which is 5 years, to only pay off 70% of the car, right? Because 10% we've paid off rightfully at the beginning and then 20% we're deferring, which means at the end of the 60 months, Wesbank is going to come knocking and say, hey, where's my 38,990 plus interest? What do? Do you sell your car? Do you refinance it and package it as a personal loan, which incurs higher rates, right? Because it's not a secured loan, it's unsecured. It's not tied to the car anymore, it's a personal loan. Or do I say, okay, let me take out a new car, add this 38,990 plus interest to the new car loan? What do you do? Let's even be more daring. Let's take this to 30%, which is what I've seen, other people do. So now with 30%, we've got a nice, comfy installment of 3,040 rand, right? Where I'm only paying 60,000 rands worth of interest. I've got a deposit of 19,500 because I saved up for this car. I planned, right? Which means I only pay, 100 minus 30 minus 10. I'm only paying 60% of the car over the life of the loan, which is the 60 months. And then I've paid 10% upfront, and then I only have 30%, which is 58,500 at the end of the term. Now, you have to know yourself, right? You're making a big financial decision. You've looked at your finances. You've looked at your what comes in and what goes out, and you know yourself as a person, right? Are you the type of person that's looking at this and that's like, yeah, I can save 58,485 diligently over the next 60 months? Or are you looking at this and you're like, where am I going to get that money? And a good indication for that, or what type of person you are, is have you managed to come up with a deposit amount? Because if you manage to come up with a deposit amount to buy or to put into your car, then you're more likely to be able to save towards your balloon payment. You may not be able to save all of it, but you've got that saving mentality. You've got that, deferred, gratuity mentality. You've got that working towards something, putting money away so that future Tando doesn't have to worry about that. Do you understand what I mean? You're making it easier for future you. But if you weren't able to save the deposit and you tried, you were aware that there's something called a deposit and you tried to save money, but you kept dipping into it, then what's going to prevent you from doing the same over the next 5 years? So ask yourself that. I'm not fighting. Just ask yourself, are you the type of person that's going to be able to stomach this savings at the end of your 5-year term? Or are you a person that's going to struggle with it? That's going to take some introspection. I can't tell you. I didn't take out a balloon payment, not because I'm not the type of person to do that, but I calculated my installment and I was comfortable with it, and I was like, look, let me finance 100% of it, and let me take it on the chin and let me do it. Also, I get really good interest rate because I am a member of the banking institution of the group that I work with, and so I get staff rates. I actually get market rate, which is repo. So I get lent at repo. So my prime. Oh, I would be so lucky. So my credit card is at prime, my car is at repo, and my house is at repo, or will be at repo. I'm in the process of moving my house from one, bank to the other. But my car is at repo. So you can see that, it's quite stomachable. What, not repo, is it? Yeah, prime minus 2.5. Yeah, my car's at repo. So when I looked at the numbers, right, I was like, okay, cool, I can stomach this. And I also had a car that was 199 or 200,000. But when I left the dealership, everything came up to about 240. So that's also something to be mindful of. You go here, you look at the Toyota Ayga, and they'll tell you there's no service plan, you still need to pay for it. They'll tell you there's no warranty, you'll need to pay for that if you want it. That's sort of optional. But the service plan is highly recommended. You don't want to be financing a car that's, out of warranty that you have to fix yourself. I don't want to know, in the first 5 years of my car, I don't want to know how much a clutch plate is. I don't want to know, how much changing the oil filter. I just want it to be covered by, the service plan. So you'll have to pay for things like that. I had to pay for, so I have a buggy, I had to pay for the canopy, I had to pay for a radio, if you can believe me. I had to pay for, I don't have mags, what do I have, rims, I think I had to pay for that. I also had to pay for the service plan, like I mentioned. So there's a lot of add-ons that you're not aware of. So when you look at the price at the dealership, or it's easier for a private sale, but like if it's at the dealership, then there's a lot of add-ons that you may want to factor in. So what I would suggest is, if you're looking at the Toyota Ayga and you're seeing 194, 950, add some headroom, add maybe 10%, 20% for extras that you may want to capitalize on, and then work around with that number. Don't work on the actual amount that the car only is worth. Because some cars don't have, like I said, a radio you have to pay for. If you get a bike, the canopy, I also have to pay for a tow bar. But like they're little itsy bitsies and they add up. So just give yourself some headroom. So for instance, if you only qualify for 300,000 for vehicle finance, don't go looking for a car that's 300,000. Maybe look for a car that's worth 260, so that 40,000 is sort of your headroom for things like the service plan, etc., etc. Mind you, a service plan is quite expensive. I think mine costs 30k, and that's over a 5-year period. So that's something to be mindful of. It's just something that I should flag. Okay, back at it. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this to the max. I didn't know there was a max, but the balloon payment is maxed at 36% for this car. I don't know if it's variable for other cars. What it's basically saying is the maximum amount or proportion of this loan that you can defer is 36%, which is the 70,182 plus interest. And then you would effectively pay the 10% upfront now deposit, and then you would only finance the difference, which is 100 minus 36, which is 64. Yes, minus 10, which is 54. So this 2,800 looks like a great installment, but is it? Are you going to have 70,000 at the end of 6 years or 5 years? So that's something to be mindful of. I'm going to remove the deposit now, and then we'll see what that looks like. With the deposit, we're at 2.8. Without the deposit, we're at 3.3. With a 36% balloon payment, yeah. That's not good. That's not great. Let me see where it takes you if you say apply for finance. Wesbank Fast app. Okay, so I obviously don't want to log into here. I don't want to create a profile, etc., etc. I think I've done what I wanted to show. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out in the comments. I'd love some engagement. Give this video a thumbs up. Tell me what else you'd like me to cover, what else you'd like me to see, and share it and give it a thumbs up so that other people who are also looking at, their first vehicle purchases, get the same information that you did. If you found it helpful, if you didn't find it helpful, please also tell me how I can improve and how I can make, my delivery better or the subject matter a bit more, understandable. So I'd love to hear back from you. Thanks again for tuning in. This is me, and I am out.